The Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everybody, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. You're with, surprise, surprise, your host, Simone Milasas, and I am in Puerto Vida, the lovely Costa Rica. So you might actually have some ambient sounds here. The birds just started cranking it up as we sat down here. And that wasn't a bird. That was actually my guest, Mr. Christopher Hughes. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's always a treat and an honor to be on your show.
Why, thank you. And Chris has been on a few times, so you can check out the previous podcasts on my page. And today, what we're talking about is kickstarting your business. Now, I wanted to ask Chris a couple of questions about one of the businesses that he's involved in and how it got started, etc. But first of all, I want to give you a bit of information about how I see kickstarting your business, because it's not just about like starting up. This is not about just a startup business. There's tools and processes and ways that you can change areas of your business. If you've been in it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you have a family business, it's like, or you just have a friggin' great idea and you want to find out how the hell do I physically actualize that in this reality to make some money from it? And how do you kickstart your business? So that's some of the stuff that we want to cover here today. And one of the businesses that Christopher is involved in is the Antique Guild, which is based in Brisbane, Australia. I'm actually a partner of the Antique Guild as well.
It's true, actually. The journey with this business has been amazing. I started as the manager. Now I'm also a partner in this business.
Yes, you are. So, and Brendan Watt, and Dane here, and Gary Douglas, and Andrew Butterfield.
That's it. That's the partners.
It's a lovely bunch. I'm smart. I'm like partners with all men.
Yes, it's you and the boys.
Me and the boys. So let's go back to the beginning here. So, how did you get started with the Antique Guild?
Well, the Antique Guild was started as a bit of an accident. Gary Douglas, who those of you have heard of him, is the founder of Access Consciousness, and he travels the world doing seminars and classes and everything, but he's also a big collector, aficionado, and lover of all things antique. And he's everywhere he goes, he does classes, but he also hunts for treasure. And
he's always spectacular at it.
Oh, wow.
We were just in Argentina with him recently, and we go to this antique market, and it's like, oh my goodness, we come away with so much stuff. It's
but wait. We're in an antique market in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and what happens? But this lady comes out of the crowd and approaches Simone Milasas, your host here, and goes, "Are you Simone Milasas, the author of Getting Out of Debt Joyfully? Oh, I'm so honored you came to my country."
Can I get a photo with you?
She was fangirl stalked in South America.
That was cool.
How many times have you been to Buenos Aires?
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
But actually, the funny, we're just sidebarring here now, but the funny thing about that was everyone had said to us, be careful at the markets, there'll be thieves, watch your purse and, don't do this and don't do that. So when she actually walked up and she went, excuse me, the first thing I did was grab my handbag. I was just like, what? She was like, are you Simone Milasas? And I was like, hang on, I don't think thieves do that much research.
No,
so,
no, exactly.
We're good, yeah.
Yeah, but needless to say, Gary finds a lot of treasure. As he says, it finds him. And one of the things he noticed in Brisbane, Australia, or in Australia in general, is we don't have a lot of great antiques or antique stores. I mean, it's not a very old country. I always say you can still smell the paint drying in Australia. You go to Europe or something and the buildings are hundreds and hundreds of years old. In Brisbane, particularly where we are, it's a pretty young settlement. Our idea of old is a little bit different. So to cut a long story short, there was a massive flood in Brisbane and all these businesses had to leave the downtown area. And Gary saw this opportunity in this amazing shop front in this old heritage building, one of the only old buildings in Brisbane. And he said to somebody, hey, you have a jewelry business. If you really wanted to, you could rent this whole larger space and I could show you how to do it. You could run a high-end antique mall where all these different vendors hire a cabinet and pay you a weekly rent. And off of all of their weekly rents and the small commission you'd also get from their sales, you could actually have your space essentially for free and run your business. Well, she didn't exactly do that.
What did she do?
She stole a lot of money from him. She basically, every time something of his sold, because he was sending all this stock for her to sell, she would keep the money. And instead of paying for the people whose stock she sold, she would just keep the money and use it for herself and buy champagne and buy trips to Europe. And she just did not have the sense of running a business.
Right.
So he could see the writing on the wall and saw that there was a problem. And by the time the bill of what was owed to him reached about $80,000 or $90,000, he went, I need to create something different here. And he said to me, Chris, would you possibly consider coming here and managing this shop for me? And I said, oh, no, thank you. I said, antique dealers all have emphysema and they have boring lives. And
no definitions there.
Yeah, no conclusions or definitions. They're as dusty as the stock that they sell. I can't imagine sitting in a shop and watching my toenails grow and being that bored. No, thank you, no way. And he said, okay, fine. But would you be willing to come on for a month or two and help me out? I'm really in a bind here. And to be honest, at the time, I wasn't doing that much. And I went, okay, but I think it'll probably take me more like 3 to 4 months to really
get in there,
figure out what's going on.
So let me stop you here for a second. What did you know about antiques?
Nothing. I knew that I liked them.
Right.
And I knew that there was something about them that actually matched the energy of what I desired for my life, or how the things that I value or love, like creating intimacy between people and having an energy of elegance in your life and honoring that which is beautiful and crafted. And those are the energies that always were interesting to me.
Okay, so what do you get that Gary saw in you to ask you to do this and be this?
A number of things. There's that interest in elegance and how that was always for me a priority in my life. Also that I'm a bit of a sicko in that I like sales.
You do like sales. You have a joy of sales for sure.
Yeah.
But one of the things I sort of want to bring this back to kickstarting your business.
Mm-hmm.
So Gary wasn't hiring you based on you had all these qualifications.
Nope.
He was hiring you based on an energy that you were. And I know one of the things that Gary has spoken about previously as well is you've got to be willing to hire people who are willing to have money in their lives. Doesn't mean they have to have money in their lives now, but the willingness to have money in their lives. Because then they'll actually contribute and then they'll create with you.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that in hiring staff at my own store. I've had some disastrous results by hiring people that had the credentials or quote unquote looked the part, but the issues in their lives around money actually destroyed what they could have created there.
Yeah, because you've got you've got a huge variety of stuff in that shop, but massive high end. So if someone walks in and they've got a point of view that you shouldn't be, eating from sterling silver, that it's over the top, then they're not going to sell it.
Or one example is, and again, I know we're diverting a bit from kickstarting, but this lady I inherited with the business when I took over, and she looked the part. She was a sweet older woman. And she looked classy, and she was very approachable, very chatty, and she'd done a lot of retail. So by all those standards of qualification, she was great. But she was so twisted around money, and every time we had something come into the shop that was really valuable, she would say, oh, well, that's not really achievable. And that was her point of view around money. It was whether it was achievable or not from her point of view. And she would project that onto the clientele that came in.
So kickstart your business. One of the things that you've got to look at is actually when you're hiring people, ask questions about hiring people. And one of the greatest tools that I've ever heard is say truth in your head. You don't need to say it out loud, but it's a universal law. When you actually say truth, you'll find out more information. You'll find out if they're telling the truth or not. So, great question. You can ask someone and say, okay, what's the one thing? And you're saying truth in your head that I need to know about you, and they might go, oh, I'm never on time, I'm always late, But look at the people that you're hiring, and as Chris says, it's like, does it match the energy of what your business is, your service is? etc. Like, is it going to contribute? Is it going to create something greater? Is it going to make you money? Great question. Is this person going to make the business money? Are they going to desire to contribute? So kickstarting your business, look at the staff, and can I say, please, 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 please get this. Just because you hire staff, guess what? Breaking news. They don't have to be your new best friend.
No, exactly.
You're not in a relationship. It's just staff.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because kickstarting your business, as you said at the beginning of this call, can look so many different ways. And for me, this business, while it wasn't old, it had established a few things already. So there were some business partners, there was a bookkeeper, there was some sales staff, and a few other parts and pieces and players already in the mix. And there was this energy there of people being friends. And the bookkeeper actually was a friend of mine who used to be a mutual business partner of both of ours.
Yes.
And I determined fairly early on that she was actually quite destructive for the business. And what I had to do was actually go, you know what? This isn't personal, but I've got to let you go. And I wish you all the best. And it's been great for her life, because she's gone on and done the things that she actually wanted to be doing, because that job was a bit of a crutch for her. But it's a really important point that you bring up around friends.
Yeah, and also please realize that too. You go to this place of going, oh my God, I feel so bad. I've got to let this person go. This is terrible. I mean, Chris just did this today as well. But what it ends up occurring is you've decided that it means X, Y, Z. What if it didn't? What if you were actually giving that person more freedom to create something different in their lives? Because if it's not working for you, the chances are it's not working for them.
No, it's true. I want to go back a little bit, though, because one of the things that I did that gave me so much awareness around all these staff members that I've mentioned and more was I was going in fresh. And so I went, okay, what's the information that I require here, and what do I need to know about this business? It's a bit like the energy of lifting the bonnet on a car that isn't working and going, what's going on?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would just be like, oh, it's not working. Call someone.
It's a metaphor here.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor. But what I did was I asked the bookkeeper for a copy of our profit and loss statement. And I'm very grateful to you, Simone, my friend, because in an earlier business, you recognized my need and requirement for education on bookkeeping and accounting. And Simone here, I'll tell you all, gentle listeners, in our last business that we had together, she paid our accountant to sit down with me once a week, and she would teach me things about accounting and business. And it was so helpful. It's still not my favorite area of business.
It's not mine either.
Yeah.
But you have to know it.
But I know a whole lot more about it now. And I was able to go with this profit and loss statement and sit down with the current manager of the business, the Antique Guild, when I got in. And I queried every line of the profit and loss statement because I wanted to know.
I know. I love this story, though, especially for the outcome.
Because, as I said earlier, they were stealing.
But we didn't cognitively know that.
No, but I discovered it by going through this list line by line. It was not a witch hunt. I was not looking to crucify anyone.
No, you were looking to get clarity.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how as I say, you lift the bonnet and you go, okay, where does that fan belt go? And where does that hose go? What's going on here? And I discovered, they were buying sofas and putting them in their home. They were buying iPads for their kids. Things that had nothing to do with the business, and doing it with somebody else's money. So asking questions is a fabulous thing. And when I did that line by line thing with the profit and loss, and the manager was so defensive and so upset, he left because I had uncovered all these things that he had been keeping covert and hidden. So please, 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 one great thing to kickstart your business, whether it's one that you've had for years, take things like your profit and loss and reevaluate it every 3 months, month, and go through it and go, what are we spending on wages? Where is this money going? Where's that money going? What did I spend on GST payments? What did I spend on, and where is it compared to last 6 months? Not from a conclusion or projection or trying to get anything right, but figuring out what's really, truly going on with your business and the money.
And, my dad was an accountant, and one of my favorite things, most accountants don't function like this, and he would get the profit and loss and say, okay, Simone, I want you to look at all of your expenses. And I would look through them, and he would say, are all of them required? Question. And I'd look through and go, yep. And I'd be like, yes. And you go, okay, so you're not making enough money to cover the expenses, So now what you have to look at is what else can you create? And I was so grateful because I know most accountants are sort of like, well, you've got to cut out your expenses. And it's like, it doesn't really create a greater future. So if you are kickstarting your business, like we said, if it's, you're coming into a family business, maybe it's a business you've brought, maybe it's an idea, or you are just starting out. And it's like, have a look at your financials and start to get financially savvy with what is going on. As Chris said, not from conclusion, not from answer, from question. It's like so that you actually have the clarity. So Chris, with the Guild, I mean, gosh, it's hugely successful now, and you're doing worldwide events, and you've got 2 shops, and so what's some more tools right at the beginning that the kickstarting that sort of got you through?
Well, there was that side of it with the profit and loss, but the other thing that I did, and I would encourage anyone to do this with their business, no matter the size, is I sat down and had a coffee with every single staff member, not to make friends with them, but whether they polished the silver or took out the garbage or whether they handled the books or were in sales, I sat down with them and I said, so what does an average day look like for you? And got all this information about what different people were doing or not doing just by asking.
Okay, so you're recommending that someone comes in or they're hiring people, it's like, okay, what's your average day like? So you came in that with a question, and how did they respond?
Some of them were honored. Some of them were like, oh, I can't believe someone's finally asked me. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. They were like, oh, thank God, some direction.
Right.
Like, they felt really rudderless and like they were just kind of floating in the breeze. And then some of them, again, felt defensive because they knew they were doing nothing for their money and were just skiving off because they were friends.
Right.
And could get away with it.
Yeah.
So it sort of separated for me who was working, who was a contribution, who was interested in being there, and who actually wasn't. And again, not a witch hunt, not to make anyone right or wrong, but it makes you look at the people and go, okay, this person is in a good role for them and it's working and they actually could take on more work. This person is overworked. This person maybe needs to be in a new department, just to get an idea of what's really going on for the people.
Yeah, and I also love the idea of when you're talking to them too, you can see who's actually willing to create a future. So how important do you think it is that people are actually willing to look at the future of the business when you are hiring them?
I actually think it's very important. It's always really obvious to me when you have staff who is just there to make a living, like they're just filling space, and who actually is a contribution to creating more, because it's the contribution that always creates a future.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to someone today, and it's someone that works with us, and they're fine. They do a great job, but they also function from this place of what I would call give and take. It's not gifting and receiving. So it's always like, what can they take rather than this whole gifting and receiving. So it's sort of like oh, look, it's 5 o'clock. Yep. All right, time to shut up.
Yeah.
Rather than like in your business, if there's a great customer, you're going to stay till 6.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, or later, whatever. Well, there was when we first got here in Costa Rica, there was a guy from Brisbane or from Australia who needed a gift for his mother, and he came down to our store and he was like, I really can't be bothered coming back to pick it up. Do you think you could organize postage and just bill me for it? And we went, sure. And he said, you know what they did? They drove the gift to my mother's house, gift wrapped.
Wow.
And he was like, oh, they made my life so easy by doing that. And it's the funny part about that is that same staff member who did that, talking about contribution and it not being about give and take. When I first started at the business and I was hiring some new people after this first couple left, there was, people that were qualified and they had credentials, blah, blah, blah. And this guy came in who was a friend of a friend and handed me his resume. He was like 19 or 20. And the first line on his resume was, what contribution can I be to your business?
Wow. That's
just
cool.
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you're different. You're not trying to prove to me that you can do it. You're making it about me and my business. And he's like that. He's always there after hours to do what's extra, to do what will create more for the business in the future, and finding other projects that he can add. Like in our business, you need to be somewhat educated on the stock, which there's a lot of information. So he made this manual and guide to identifying the different kinds of table legs and the different kinds of chairs and things like that. So that's the thing that I look for too with staff and kickstarting any business is, okay, so if you were to fire all of your staff today, who would you hire back tomorrow? Who is a contribution and who's creating the future of your business and who isn't? Since I was gone last month, some of the boys in our shop, on their own time and at no cost to the business, built us a new website that actually takes payments. Our previous website was 6 months' work and cost $20,000, and it doesn't even have a shop.
Right.
And it was like this big rigmarole to get it done. And these boys just went, boom, and did it for us.
Hey, that's one of the things, though, is good too with kickstarting your business, because what if it didn't look like you thought it should? Because so many things can show up like that, where it's like there's, possibilities that show up when you're willing to ask questions and willing to receive, rather than have to go down this road that, everything costs you, $1 million or a fortune, etc. It's like, okay, so what would it take for this to be created with ease? And be willing to receive that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's a couple more tools before we call it a day here with kickstarting your business that you found in the guild? What's some of those other tools that you discovered when you became, after the 3-month management?
Yeah, exactly.
Was up. And how many years has it been now, Chris?
Yeah, we're going on 7. So that 3 months is, I'm still on month to month though. I could leave any time. Just want to make that clear. No,
or choice, actually. No, that's a really cool thing.
Exactly.
Is actually giving yourself and staff and anyone involved choice. It's like you should wake up every day and say, okay, is this working for me today?
Yeah.
And it's like, don't make a necessity. It's like, create your business as a choice. If you create it as a choice, so much more will show up for you.
I used to make myself feel very guilty if I took a day off. And if I was home in Brisbane, I should be in the store, was basically my point of view. And it took choice out of it. And every time I did take a day off, I would need to have like some kind of justification for it. Like, Granny's birthday or whatever. Like it's Christmas Day. So, we can't open it to legal. That kind of thing. But
so we better have a good time. I better enjoy my day off.
But choice and question are the two biggest things to help, because even if you have been in your business for a while or it's new, sometimes what I've noticed is if I put too much into my business or spend too much time on it, I can actually kill it with kindness, like smother it with too much attention. If you want something to change, like you want more revenue, sometimes you need to just ask for that to show up for your business, make some choices that match that energy, and then back off.
Yeah, allow your business to create itself as well.
Good exactly.
Point. I like that. Yeah. So we've got a few good tools here, and I've actually got a Kickstart Your Business class on let me have a look here, I'm pretty sure it's the 23rd of November. Now, it is in Noosa, Australia, so you're more than welcome to come to Noosa, Australia. It's beautiful, it's summer, but it's also live streamed, so you can watch this from anywhere in the world. If you actually do it live, like when I'm actually doing it, then you can also send in questions, etc., and you can, ask your questions. It's lots of fun. So that's Kickstart Your Business. It's on the 23rd of November. It is followed by a Joy Business Business Done Different Masterclass from the 24th to the 26th. I would love to have you on wherever you are in the world. So Kickstart Your Business, like I said, is not just about, starting up. It's basically for anyone and everyone. Because as I always say, it's like if you wake up, in the morning, and it's like your business is your life is your business. If you have blood running through your veins, you're in business.
I have got a class coming up too as well, which is actually October the 30th, I believe, in Tahiti, which is a Access Business and Money class. It's a 1-day specialty class under the Joy Business and Access Consciousness, and it is live if you happen to be in Tahiti, but also you can join us online for that class if you go to accessconsciousness.com and look for my name, Christopher Hughes.
And you can also find all those classes on accessjoybusiness.com, which is awesome. We have a horrible life, don't we? We're in Costa Rica now. It's like we get to go to Tahiti.
I go home for 5 days and then go to Tahiti. Last month I was in Italy for the whole month. It's
that's terrible. Violin, smallest violin in the world, playing a tune just for us.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Chris, for joining me here on Kickstart Your Business. And please get that this is just the beginning. There's so many tools available in Joy Business with the Access Consciousness tools to change pretty much any area of your life that you have decided is not working for you. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
And I look forward to having you on here again.
Me too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.